I'll start by asking you, Toby, about how you came up with this series. We were talking yesterday, and I thought it was pretty interesting that initially this wasn't intended to be any kind of a supernatural science fiction show. So why don't you tell the audience about
I was approached by a TV company in the UK who wanted to do a drama series, what they called a non-genre specific drama series, about a group of college graduates who decide to buy a house together. They pitched this idea to me, and I thought that was probably the dullest idea I'd ever heard in my life. And I was on the verge of turning it down when, and I promise you it doesn't normally happen like this, ideas for 3 characters just dropped one by one into my mind, completely fully formed, for Mitchell, George and Annie. They were at this point still completely human. Annie was an agoraphobic, Mitchell was a recovering sex addict, and George was someone who had anger issues and very, liked to kind of very kind of anally retentive character. So, and we kind of started developing this, and we were getting nowhere with it. And so we decided to have one last meeting, and then if nothing came of that, we'd just call it a day. And it struck me in this meeting that George, the way that he suppresses his anger all of the time, is kind of like a werewolf. And so I said, well, we could always make George a werewolf, because if nothing else, it would give me a story to write. My producers had listened to this, they didn't call security, and it seemed fine. And then it seemed like the kind of natural progression would be that, well, actually Mitchell's quite like a vampire, and when you think about it, Annie being rooted to the house is quite like a ghost. And so suddenly by the end of this meeting, I was writing a show about a werewolf, a vampire and a ghost sharing a house. But it hadn't started like that. As I said, initially it had just been a human house shit. But because it's such a ridiculous idea, the first version I wrote was essentially a sitcom. And I feel like I had to get it kind of out of my system that way. So I wrote, and we all looked at it and thought it was rubbish. So I started again, and this time I pretended in my mind I was writing a low-budget American independent film. Because then that would kind of give me kind of I could expand the story and tonally and so on. So and then that became the pilot script, and there we are.
I was wondering if the actors could just talk briefly about what it was like for each of you when you were approached to do this series, what your initial reaction was, and what drew you into the project.
Well, I personally thought it sounded terrible. I thought the concept sounded a bit tacky, and my agent said, give it a read. And then after reading it, I thought, this is genius. I want to get involved 100%. And then, yeah, you just know straight away that how special it is and how well written the characters are, and it's not a massive send-up, like spoof supernatural. It's really rooted in humanity, and that's what really connected me as an actor, because you get the rooting of the naturalism of it is so special, and the truth behind the characters is so special that is what you want to do as an actor. You want to play these parts, and these people are all struggling with life, and that appealed to me a lot, the drama. Thank you very much. I just want to say thank you for the Hershey's Kisses candy we got here. These are great. Thanks a lot. There's 2 of them each. You're spoiling us. Thank you.
I think for me, it's a bit like Russell. My first reaction was it sounded ridiculous. It really did sound a werewolf, a ghost, and a vampire share a flat in Bristol. I don't know. It's a hard sell.
Are you from Bristol?
Woo! Nothing against Bristol. Bristol's wicked.
Bristol rocks.
Bristol rocks.
No one else has heard of it, but
yeah, we love it. But yeah, I think the pull for me was the roundedness of the characters, and just the supernatural aspect of it. Just was a really fresh take on some very human, very sort of everyday issues that everybody I know and everybody in my life could relate to and tap into, and it was just I just think then the concept became of course, you put a ghost, a vampire, and a werewolf in a flat in Bristol, and you've got a series. It just makes sense now, but yeah. It was definitely the writing which was the first straw, the first pull.
I mean, it's weird. It's like, I remember getting the call as well from my agent and nearly hanging up the phone, because it's like, it just shouldn't work, it shouldn't make sense, you know, and, but as these guys said, it's more than a supernatural show. It's steeped in humanity and realism and naturalism, and it tackles issues, I think, that we deal with all the time, and that's something, on reading the script the first time and heard the idea, that was just, it's so original, you know, and it really struck a chord with me, and I don't know, it's exciting, you know, it's different, I think, and that's what made me kind of drawn to the project, first of all.
Actually, because it came up, Toby, tell us about why you chose to set the show in Brighton.
Bristol.
I'm sorry.
Have you done your research?
Fact check it.
Basically, it was originally commissioned by BBC Wales, the same BBC that does Doctor Who, and because consequently we had to position it somewhere close to Wales, and it was really kind of as simple as that. We felt that Cardiff was already very well served. Nothing against Cardiff, obviously. And so consequently we chose Bristol because it's very near Wales. But also it was then something I kind of had to make sense of afterwards. And so I don't know if you guys have seen episode 5 of series 1 yet, but there's a moment. Yeah, 5.
Someone has.
And so there's a moment that where one of the vampires says to Mitchell, "Why Bristol?" And then it kind of gets explained that actually the slave trade actually brought a lot of vampires into the country. Bristol was a big player in the slave trade and so on. So it was something I kind of made sense of afterwards. But initially it was purely the kind of proximity to Wales.
Okay, thought it would be a good idea to show some clips from the show to give you an idea, and we're going to go through each character. So first we're going to show you a clip about Annie, but Lenora, maybe you can just give us a very brief setup, and then we'll ask you about after the clip.
Okay, Annie Sawyer. Okay, so when we first meet Annie, she's a ghost. She's not quite sure how she got there, why she's still there. She's invisible to everybody. She's trapped in the house that she died in, the house that she moved into with her fiancé. And as far as we know, when we first meet her, she loved life, she had a happy life, and this new sense of being is very painful and distressing for her because she can't understand it. She goes on quite a journey though.
Okay, let's show that clip.